Hello everybody, it's Neil here again. Now, as many of you guys know, I'm sure if you watch the show, I'm a big fan of history. But one of the things I'm also passionate about is metal. It's probably the second most near and dear thing to my heart, aside from history. I mean, if you've listened to pretty much any episode from the middle of season 4 on, you know that every episode has samples from many of the songs that I like to listen to. So I figured as an interesting idea to do, because there's no episode on the podcast this week, would be to do a top 5 albums and EPs of 2021. I would just say albums, but considering the changes in the music industry, there's a lot of bands that are just putting out singles or EPs now because the day of the album is slowly fading. With streaming, it's better to just pump out a song or two really quickly, get the money from the download so you can have money to keep recording more music. It's kind of annoying, sometimes you have to make, like I do, playlists where you just put a bunch of singles together. Otherwise, like something like Apple Music is just going to keep playing the same like one or two songs over and over again. The pandemic was really a great time for music because, especially like from 2020 to most of 2021, there weren't a lot of bands touring. So usually what a band will do is they'll put out an album and then like for a year or so they'll tour around and then put out another one, as long as they're prolific. I mean, that's not standard, but a lot of bands do that. But with the venues closed, a lot of these bands just started releasing a bunch of music. So without further ado, here are Neil Eckert's top 5 albums and EPs of 2021 in the metal genre. So coming in at number 5 is the EP Pure Like Porcelain by the band Like Moth to Flames. Now there are some weak songs on this album, but why I like this even more than some of its competitors is it's more of a return to form for Like Moth to Flames. For an album or two there, they were sort of drifting into radio metal as it is. Like there was hardly any scream vocals. It was mostly just like people trying to be A Day to Remember, essentially. And I didn't really like that path for them. I mean, it's nice to have, some clean lyrics here or there, or clean vocals, I should say. But, I'm here for the breakdowns and for the screams and all that. And, well, I mean, like Moth to Flame's best album was released in 2020. So if I ever get around to doing a best of 2020 review, they will definitely be on there. But Pure Like Porcelain definitely shows that Like Moth to Flames is committed to what I would consider the right track. And before we go any further, I feel like we should do some honorable mentions, some bands that put out singles, but it's not enough for me to consider them, album or EP of the year because, they're one or two songs. So for our honorable mentions, we're going to throw in Wolves at the Gate. They put out 2 singles in 2021, Shadows, and what's the other one here? Gotta find it. Lowborn. Both of them fantastic songs. Hopefully presaging an EP or maybe even an album if we're lucky. Wolves of the Gate, I've kind of been like lukewarm on them. They had a couple good songs back when they first started, and I just kind of stopped listening to them. And then Apple Music recommended them to me, and I'm glad it did because, like I said, if this became an EP or an album in 2022, it's definitely going to be on the list of top 5 if it's anything like what was put out. Also in that list is Memphis Mayfire. They've got a lot of good singles that came out. Actually, they pretty much released enough singles to do an album, an EP themselves. They've got 3 right here. They got Left for Dead, Blood and Water, Somebody. And I think they may have released a 4th one that I just didn't download because it was just all soft. But either way, I like Memphis Mayfire. They put on a great show. They were at the first real concert I ever went to, Warped Tour, back in, what was that, I want to say it was 2013 or 14. Great show. The drummer in that band is insane, and so is the lead vocalist. They sing about a lot of encouraging topics. Another one of the honorable mention singles is Black Smoke by Breakdown of Sanity. Great song. I did feature it in one of our episodes. I really hope Breakdown of Sanity comes back to making metal again. They put out like 3 really good albums, and then they're just like, oh, we don't feel like we can create anything original anymore, and then poof, gone. I think part of Breakdown of Sanity's problem is they're like Metallica almost. Like, they release 3 songs in one. Like, they'll go like for a third of the song, and it'll just like change into something completely different. And like as a whole, the song is great, but you used up 3 ideas in one song. So with the honorable mentions out of the way, let's get into our list. So at number 4, we have Of Mice and Men with their album Echo. Now this was originally just a bunch of singles and EPs. They put out an EP earlier in the year called, hold on, let me find it here, Bloom, that had Levy, Bloom, and Pulling Teeth. And then they released a few more singles, and then I guess they decided, for the sake of convenience, to put them all together. So they took my playlist idea, turned it into an album. And this has got some bangers on it. It's got Obsolete, Anchor, Levy, Pulling Teeth, Fighting Gravity, Timeless. Like, they're all really good songs. Of Mice and Men was one of my favorite bands back in the day. The Flood Deluxe Edition is still in my top 5 metalcore albums of all time. They went soft for a while. I didn't really like a lot of what they did. And then they've just been slowly inching themselves back into being a really good metal band again, releasing the kind of music that I like. And I hope they continue to do it, because I really liked the Mice and Men back in the past, and if they keep releasing albums like Echo, I'm going to continue to enjoy their music. And at number 3, we have a reissue of an album. I mean, technically speaking, it is a new album. The songs are different, but I mean, the songs in lyrics and all of that, it's the same as the original. But it is the re-release of the Leveler album by August Burns Red. It's a 10th anniversary edition. August Burns Red has been doing this a lot lately. They did this with Messengers, Constellation, and now Leveler, where they retune the music a little bit. Sometimes they'll change up the breakdown a little bit. Maybe they'll have someone else in there, like a feature with another artist. But for the most part, it's the same. I mean, the only real new song you could say is X, which is an intro song. It starts with a simple beat/guitar riff, and then it slowly builds, and then boom, right into Empire. And for as simple of a song as it is, it's very effective at getting you hyped up for the album. And Leveler is another one of those great albums that I got early in my metalcore career, and the re-release does just enough for me to be like, okay, this is better. There are some songs I prefer in the original form, like Cutting the Ties I think is better in the original, but you also have things like Poor Millionaire, which just, I mean, the riff in there, in the breakdown, is, they just add that little bit of extra, I don't even know what to call it really. It's got like a little bit more like groove. I don't think that's really the correct word. I'm failing here. But like the breakdown is just better. And there's a lot of songs like that. Like they've tuned their guitars a little bit differently. There's more bass, and especially when I'm at work, I have my Sony Bass Boost headphones. Plus, I have the bass boost on my EQ settings on iTunes, and it just, you get a little bit of weed, and it's like a concert in your head. It's fantastic. August Burns Red always will be likely my favorite band of all time. I have pretty much every album they ever put out. I even listened to their Christmas album, and I despise Christmas music. I mean, that's how good August Burns Red is. They make a Christmas album, and I find it enjoyable. And if that's not to your taste, they put out the Guardian Sessions EP. They've got some cover songs of other bands like Chop Suey, which was originally performed by System of a Down. I like the August Burns Red version better. They did a cover of the Westworld intro. They did a reprise of a couple of their songs from their previous year's album, Guardians, which if I do the 2020 list, that's going to come on there as well as some independent songs like Icarus and Standing in the Storm. So 2021 was a great year for August Burns Red. I listened to a lot of the Leveler 10th anniversary songs on repeat at work. and I believe it deserves a place at third, but no higher, because the two albums that come in there are, I wouldn't say tied for first. I mean, I think there is a little bit of a difference, but both of them are just absolutely fantastic. But I have coming in at second place, The Fire Itself by the band Phineas. If you've never heard of Phineas before, they're one of those bands that you can really tell they took a lot of their motivation from 80s metal. You know, a lot of their breakdowns have like really intricate guitar solos that you don't really see a lot of metalcore. And then you accompany that with the intricate double bass patterns that metalcore is famous for, and you've got a recipe for success. And I was considering putting them in first place. Like I said, it was a very tough decision for me, but there's a couple songs on the album that I'm not like super crazy about. I mean, they're not bad, but they just kind of feel like fluff songs for me. But I mean, songs like The Fire Itself, Dream Thief, Eternally Apart, In the Night, The Storm in Me, it just, all of them are absolutely fantastic songs that are well worth listening to. Looking at it right now on iTunes, for some reason it's out of order. I am, maybe if I download some of them later on iTunes. Go on here. Like, I've always liked Phineas's music, but they were never one of my favorite bands. And then when they started releasing singles for this, it was just like, wow, I hope the album is like this. And they did not disappoint. You know, I've used several of their songs in the intros, and actually in a couple social media posts I've tagged them in, they have liked them or responded to comments. So I think that's really cool that at least someone working for their social media team is engaging with the podcast social media team, run by me, so they're engaging with me. Maybe that makes me a little bit biased, but the songs are still fantastic on that album. And I hope they continue that trend. And now, for the much anticipated first place pick of 2021 for the albums and EPs in the metal genre, it is Zombie 2 by The Devil Wears Prada. Like I said, this was a hard choice. You know, I was going back and forth between this and Phineas, but really, there's no fluff on this album. All 5 songs are bangers. They're all immediately re-listenable too. Forlorn, which is track 2, was my most listened to song of 2021 according to Apple Music. Now, a lot of this is because I heard it and then decided I was going to use it like 3 episodes down the road for the podcast, and every time I didn't feel like doing research, I'd put this on, crank it up, and just start jamming out. I mean, the breakdown in Forlorn is just absolutely incredible. I love every bit of it, but songs like Termination, Nora, Nightfall, they're all fantastic in their own ways. And a lot like Of Mice and Men, this is a very encouraging sign for me for The Devil Wears Prada. A lot of their recent stuff I didn't really like. Sour Breath was decent, the single. Space EP was good. But then you also had albums like The Act that, I mean, I'm growing to like it more than I did, because my music tastes are always changing, and I hated it on release. But, and I kind of put them on the shelf for a while. But then they turn around and drop an album like Zombie 2, and it just gives me hope for the original bands. You know, 2021 was really the resuscitation of a lot of bands' images. You know, you've got like Moths to Flames coming back, Devil Wears Prada, Phineas, pretty much everything on my list except for August Burns Red was a band that had sort of fallen off in my opinion, and just came back hard and said, "Don't you dare forget about us, motherfucker." And I'm glad they did. You know, I'm always happy to see bands that I liked come back into relevance, at least in my opinion. But those are my favorite musical works in 2021. Like I said, if this gets enough views or likes or whatever, I will definitely do 2020. I'm going to try to put little samples of the song in here in the background, but you know how YouTube is with copyright, so I may have to take them out. Who knows? I'm just trying to predict the future here. But I hope you guys enjoyed this as a little morsel while you wait for the next episode of the main show. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I will catch you on the next one.